No, but that's what's cool about your, like, just you putting in the effort for your YouTube room and stuff like that. Like, that stuff's cool to me because it's just like I mean, we all got to start somewhere, but it's like, I mean, you took us on that little trip on your video that I appreciated. I'm just like, that's pretty cool. But no, you did a really good job. So.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it because it's been a slow move for me. You know, it takes me time. Some people seem to be shooting there after 3 months. They're on YouTube and they're like, oh, I blew up. Something happened.
No. So on your channel, I mean, you're obviously like, you're an occupational psychologist. Is that what it is?
Yes.
What is that? Do you have like a bed that people lay down on, or how does
No,
that work?
so occupational psychology is actually applying psychology in the workplace. So it's actually really practical things in the workplace, things like performance, development, organizational change, those things that are more business and work related. Let's say you're introducing a new technology in the workplace and people need to adapt. How do you best introduce that concept and understanding the psychology of people with change and how to implement it well enough so that you can get the best performance or productivity out of it? You would call an occupational psychologist to come in and implement those changes or implement a development. Or let's say you're merging two companies, how to best do that to make sure that things go smoothly. And that will be the job of an occupational psychologist. When I moved over from England to the US, and I do find that not a lot of private organizations, not that I've seen anyway, but when I came here, I realized it was more in the government. So in DC around here is where I would see that exact title being employed for that exact title. And the work will be very similar to what I would have been used to.
But I mean, you still go down the same training path as like kind of a psychologist, a regular one, I guess. I don't know if you call it regular one, but it's all the same stuff. I mean, like
it's the mind.
Yeah,
it's the mind. Correct. Yeah, it's all psychology is really about the understanding of the mind and working whatever you're trying to get a person towards. So a personality psychologist, for example, would be focusing more on how a person relates in the past and maybe psychotherapy more, psychiatrist.
That's what I love to research myself.
That's what you're right.
All that stuff.
And
I mean, that's a psychologist is like a preferred, somewhat INFP career type path. Correct. And I see that. And like me, I did not go into that. I had no idea what I wanted to do when I was a teenager. So I just kind of flowed wherever, military, and then ended up in electromechanical industry. But like, I just stumbled upon, once I kind of found MBTI, then it's like, what is all this stuff about? And then I obviously got hooked on it. And then I started digging deeper. And then I found that I had this massive fascination for like human behavior and things.
Yes.
And that's where I'm like envious, because I'm like, that's why I'm drawn to you, because I'm like, man, there's INFP, HSP, psychologist. I'm like, that's my dream package of what I want to do.
But here's the thing, because I was, not that I didn't know what I wanted to do, because I come from a family that everybody's very driven. So you better know something. You're going to do something with your life, right? And I kind of had a dad that was very much, he would celebrate you, whatever you wanted to do. So being an INFP, I'll change my mind every 2 weeks about what I want to do and change, from being in high school to being in college. I changed my mind 3 times and I changed courses 3 times. And my dad would be like, you do great. Whatever you want to do, you'll be the best thing. And he would just celebrate you. So I had a lot of freedom to try out a lot of things without judgment, without feeling like I was being a flake or anything like that. But the fascination with the mind was always there, because I think being different and thinking different, I just could never understand why everybody else was so different from how I was. So I was like, am I missing something? Is something else out there that I'm not understanding? And maybe it was also to change me, thinking I must be the odd one out. So maybe I need to understand how the mind works so I can adapt to what everybody else is doing. And it took me, I think you mature as you get older, you mature to understand, actually, that's not how it works. But I didn't really stumble on, even though I studied personality, it didn't click for me then. It didn't click for me then, like, this is why. Even though I understood people can have different personalities, it didn't click for me to go like, settle in yours. I was like, yeah, I think I am that, but I'm still just going to go on trying to be like everybody else. I didn't go like, I think I'm different and therefore I should embrace being different and see how this works best for me. I studied psychology. Me living the psychology that I understood was different, but the psychology of work, I think, is what I maximize the most. So, which is maybe understandable since that's the area I went into, occupational psychology. So world of psychology in that area was like really big for me, and I was very much into that and looked into development in terms of my work and things I wanted to try and businesses and things, but I didn't really apply it on a personal level. I think that took a minute for me to get to a point where I'm like, this makes a lot of sense. Maybe when it comes to my personal life, this actually matters too.
So on your channel, I mean, because I'm specifically targeting INFPs. There's more types and stuff coming over on my channel. There's viewers and stuff, other types, obviously, but like I'm heavily, you can see it that I'm targeting INFPs, but yes, that comes with I don't know. I guess my approach with YouTube was more of how much I appreciated to relate to those INFPs when I used to be a watcher consumer. So I enjoyed that part. So I guess my channel is, I try to give information because that's what people want. They want information that can help them, but mine is more of my kind of story. And, this is what I do. And I just kind of be vulnerable and put my stuff all out there to where I kind of look at it as maybe they can kind of somewhat relate to it. And then also, not feel as weird or awkward as like, hey, look, that guy's doing the same thing I'm doing.
That's right.
So, I mean, I try to take videos and do informational stuff to where I do give valuable things, but it's more of just me just going on some kind of rant, whatever inspired me for that week and things like that. But I mean, your point is, like a lot of channels just are all of whatever, everybody. But that's the thing with me. I kind of use YouTube as a place to where I kind of get away from everybody. Like, it's like I want to come to a group that's familiar to me in a sense. And that's why it's kind of like my safe place. Like, I go mingle with everybody in society and, do whatever I do. But when I come home on this, it's kind of more of a safe place for me. And that's why I kind of keep it a small niche or whatever. Niche. I don't know. French word.
I say niche. Everybody calls it a different thing.
So on your channel, like you're obviously putting stuff out there and you're staying consistent and things like that. But what's your kind of angle with it? I mean, I like your description section of your channel. Like, I really like reading that because I'm just like, oh, she's like super here to help us and this and that. I really like your description. I mean, is that your goal is to kind of open up to all the MBTI realm somewhat thing? And like, just, I mean.
No, I think most likely, even though I am there to help people, I am there to help people with my own evolving. So
that's the thing with me. It's like people look at it as like, well, he's just giving me information. I'm getting so much information about myself through the comment section and things I'm doing, like just learning this craft video. It's like I'm developing myself there. So it might look like the creator is not really getting anything from it back, but I'm getting massive like developmental skills and just I'm learning so much through all the people in the comment section. That's where I feel that some people don't really understand the value that I see of their comments, because someone puts a comment, oh, I'm, this and that, whoever, no one's going to read it. But like when I read these comments, like a lot of them like super impact me. I mean, if it's just something like good video, that's a good motivational boost, but there's a lot of deep comments that especially INFPs can lay down and like, I will absorb all that and be like, heck yeah. And so it's hard. It's just, say it's a form of therapy for me, which a lot of people say, oh, don't do that. But it's like, it's a light form. I'm not like, I've never been to therapy. So that, I think that,
You've never been to therapy?
Okay. So this is what,
what are you waiting for? Why have you not, well, maybe in my world, I always feel like therapy is like, everybody should have done therapy at some point.
See, but like, that's one of my views. It's always been that way. So like when growing up, before finding all this self-research of me studying psychology, whatever. So obviously I'm no expert. I'm just some crazy idiot on YouTube that's just doing whatever. But I self-research it a lot. I mean, that's what I do on my free time. I have other things I research, but psychology has been like 10 years of just reading about it. So I don't have a degree, etc., but I do feel that I have somewhat of a knowledge of this. Just, But like with me, when I hit around 30, I'm like almost 40 now, but like when I hit around the age of 30, that's when I started to kind of, you know what, I'm kind of different, I guess, of just the majority. But I don't like this and that. I want to go down this path. And it's just, I was able to kind of start breaking free for the last 10 years of going down my path and just ignoring all the people, you know, the popcorn gallery and things like that, or peanut gallery. But it's like, so early on, I was the one that assumed that I am the one with the problem and need therapy, because obviously all these people, there's like 400 people over there that they look normal and they're all happy and smiling, and I'm some guy that's in the corner and they're all pointing at me. So in the earlier life, I mean, that's kind of how I felt like, man, I really probably need to go to psychology or something, or psychologist or something. But then as I got older, you know, doing all that self-reflection time, because I did a lot of it in high school years. I did a lot of isolation self-reflection, and that's a lot of work. That it is. It's just work. And like, I guess, I mean, I look at it as, depending on how much of that time you put into yourself, you're going to know yourself a lot better, and what you like, what you don't like, you know, what things affect you and where you want to go. So it doesn't really matter age-wise, I don't think. It just matters if, you know, the same person the same age might have done half as much self-reflection time as the other one. So they're just in different knowing themselves states. But so with therapy, like, I don't have everything figured out. I still have plenty of issues. But like, I know me, and like, so if I have an issue, like it's a really low point in my life or something like that, like I know what I need to do, like to go in there and kind of, you know, think it through and, you know, kind of process it. So I guess it's in a sense of, I mean, I do vent to people when stuff builds up. I'll find someone who I trust or whatever, and I'll vent it out, I guess, to them to kind of get it outward. But like, so with therapy or going to see someone where it's like, by the time you actually get to know me as much as I know myself, it's going to be like a year or something of me paying you $100 an hour. And I'm just like, I already know the basics of like, because for me, I just, it's not to be naive and say that, you know, I don't need therapy or anything. I just don't see myself ever going to one, because I don't know. I think like psychology and therapy or whatever, I don't know if they're the same thing, intertwined somehow, but it's like, I see it as more being needed for the people that don't do self-reflection, don't understand their feelings, don't understand who they are. And I've known plenty of people like that, where they literally just have no idea what's going on inside. None at all. They're just like, and to me, it's shocking, because I'm like, how do you not understand your feeling or understand this and that? And so again, but that's something that intrigues me, because I'm like, okay, this person doesn't understand that, but they obviously know other stuff that I'm not that good at. So I kind of want to learn all of that stuff. Which is getting things done and not living in your head and things like that, which is definitely needed. So, so I don't isolate myself from any type or whatever the thing is. You know, everyone has value to give to everybody.
Absolutely.
So keeping that open mind that's what it is. It's deal with a type that just doesn't, you know, censors and all this. Everyone's bad. They're not. No, they're. You know, it's not to look at it that way. It's like that person can help me. In some way, shape, or form. So I might not like everything they got to hand me, but I guarantee I will pluck little things here and there that I will add into my life, whether it's a censor, a thinker type, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. But I don't know. I just think that psychology for me or going to a therapist is not something I'll ever do. I don't know.
So that's something I actually touched on, because I just put out like a free download about 5 things that actually prevent people from really ever like maximizing their growth or living out how they really want to do. And one of the points I actually touched on was, because I used to feel this way, that nobody else is going to understand or fully grasp the authenticity of an idea that I have, and I'm approaching this from work or project or something else. So I was always very reluctant to bring people in, because I always feel like they're going to dilute it somehow. They're not going to really fully grasp it. So they are not going to support me in the way that I think I want to be supported, right? So I was very reluctant to work with people or bring people on because of that thought. So when you were talking about this, actually made me think about, how the point you're raising is the person would help you because they have to understand you. But therapy is really a mirror. They don't really have to know you. They have to allow you to just see yourself if it's done well, because it's not the person understanding you in order to give you something to impact. And at least that's my way of looking at therapy. Therapy is you helping you. So it's the only role of a therapist should be to hold a mirror for you to see you, right? So it's basically what you're talking about, working with someone that you trust. They're being a mirror for you, hopefully, in order for you to air out what you're thinking, get out of your head, talk it out. And sometimes we don't have people who are willing to allow us to just talk it out without them putting an input. Like, well, yeah, but the way you're thinking, though, you need to be doing, we do that a lot with ourselves, with other people. Whereas therapy is the discipline of allowing a person to air it out and just repeat it back to them so that they can hear it. So sometimes we think we see ourselves more fully, but there are elements that we're missing out. So if someone hears something, they go like, so what you're saying is, and they'll repeat something to you and you're thinking, oh yeah, that's what I was saying. And sometimes we don't hear that. And that's the impact of therapy. Whereas maybe what people usually think of as therapy, coaching is very different, because the person will then have to tell you what to do or tell you what you should be doing. So I see you have this and this problem. I think this should be the solution you need to look at. So it's more like, let's get to the action straight away. Whereas therapy is really about allowing them for you to see yourself. So if you are able to do that with a friend, with someone you trust, that is, in essence, therapy practice, because
But
you are
hard to
able
find, especially with an INFP with a small friend base where I don't.
Yeah.
My best friend, I haven't talked to in like 6 months. He lives in Florida,
Yeah.
so I mean,
Right.
that's what I'm saying. I find somebody who just, it might be random that I just kind of, it's not really a good friend or something like that, but it's someone who I feel comfortable that's not going to lay those judgments down. And I kind of do just let them have it, to where it's a lot of buildup and they're just like, whoa, they get nervous. Whereas a therapist or whatever would kind of more of a understand that, oh, here it comes.
Yeah.
But
No, it's like, no, I still don't see it.
no, oh no. I'm trying to, I lost my train of thought again.
Okay.
No. So like, but when I have like some kind of low point or something like that I'm stewing on, because I'm very in touch with like my negative points that I'm working on.
Right.
I don't sweep all that under the rug. I really take my negatives, embrace them, and just hack away at them over time. And some are bigger mountains than others to climb, but by no means no one's got everything figured out. We all have our issues and things like that.
Yeah.
But with me, like, it's hard because if I lay down like some kind of therapy thing where you got to go every Wednesday at 5 p.m., I'm not always up for talking about something that time. It's like when I want to vent or think about stuff, it's like, it's usually, I got it down to where usually if a day hits me with some kind of crazy stuff, it'll affect me for the whole day. And then I basically go to bed and sleep it off. And then when I wake up, I'm refreshed kind of thing. And it kind of goes away. And then I kind of keep moving forward. That's like kind of how I got myself trained right now. And I do pretty well at it, but that's my thing. It's like, I can't, if I have a structured appointment that I have to make and I'm just like, I don't want to talk to this guy today, even though it's someone who's supposed to mirror you and things like that. I'm just like, I don't really want to tell this guy anything today. It's kind of like when I want to feel like doing it, that's when I'm going to do it. And that's my worry, is just like structured appointments and come in here and we have an hour on the clock. It's like, talk all this. I mean, I like that Goodwill Hunting movie. Like that's an awesome movie. I really, there's a lot of emotional parts in there for me, especially towards the end when he finally was opening up kind of thing. And just like, and that's how we can be. And I know that I have a closed outer shell to an extent for some people, but at the same time, I kind of that's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to be ignorant or naive. It's just,
Yes.
I do really feel like I know very well of how I run mentally.
Yes.
Like I just kind of know what I need and what I don't need. And again, not that I don't have it all figured out, but if I go to therapy and just say, hey, here's my issues that I know about, they're not going to, I guess, help me do it faster because I'm constantly hacking away at it. I just don't need a step-by-step.
Yeah.
I mean, I read the step-by-step stuff in books. That's what I mean. I get a book, I read it, and that's kind of me reading it on my own terms. Okay, I feel like reading about how to tackle this right now. So I'm going to spend this day and really learn how to do it. So anyway, go ahead.
And it could be that it's a timing thing. You know, there have been times that I've gone through tough times and I didn't feel like I wanted to see a therapist. And there have been times that I have been like, I knew I need to see a therapist right now. I want to see a therapist because there's growth or there's blind spots. I feel like there's a blind spot I'm not seeing right now. And I'll just have that knowing that I want to work with somebody right now. And there have been times that I felt like I needed more support. Therefore, I would enroll in like more group therapies. I would go and work with other people who are going through similar things to myself. And I've had experiences with that. So personally, I'm a big advocate for therapy, but I think there's this time and space for each one. I think when people go into it with, I'm going to go in and this person is going to fix me, that's not a good time to go therapy because nobody can fix you.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, nobody knows your path or nobody can direct you to where you're supposed to go but you. They can support the space in which you can do that. They can give you skill set in order to implement what you want to do, but they can't do that for you. You know, so people would go like, I want to go there so the therapist can help me with this. And I will, even when I talk to friends and they say, I want to go because I feel like they can help me with this. And I said, you are helping you. They're just being a really wonderful, supportive space in order for you to do that. And it's more of that. I think you touched on that. Is the relationship. If you are first or second session, you feel like I'm not sure I can trust this person for whatever reason, that's not going to work. You need to really feel comfort. Even not maybe like open up your whole life, which sometimes we can get that quickly, but comfortable enough to think this is the person I think I feel comfortable enough to want to open up, because I think it helps. Otherwise, you will end up having areas in your life that you don't want to show up because you think they're going to judge you or they're going to make a judgment about something you're saying. If you have that feeling, that's going to be really difficult, and maybe you would hold off. Like you said, you would probably be seeing a therapist a year before you start seeing that progress, or you can take a chance. It's almost like real relationships, you know? When you meet somebody new, you're like, oh, how much do I tell them about myself before I scare them off, you know? Or, you know,
I usually let everything out, and it's bad because I just like. But that's what I mean. I'm very selective with who I find and things like that. And I haven't had a lot of relationships, things like that. But like when I do find, it's like I know what I want and I know what I'm looking for. So they don't know that. It's like when I find them, I'm just like I let everything out, which scares them. They're like, "What, dude? I'm not your therapist. What are you doing? We just met. This is the second date. You don't need to tell me all your problems." I'm like, no, here, it's all here.
That's so funny. I used to feel like people would say you in terror, and I used to think this was more for my dad, because my dad was in the military. He was retired now, so he would ask you like 10 questions back on back when you met him, and I used to think like, Dad, can you just relate to someone without like interrogating them? And then I would feel like I was exactly the same way. Like I would want to know like deep, you know, stuff like, so why are you this, like on the first date? And someone will go like, what, why are you asking me those deep questions? And to me, I used to think, oh really, is that a deep question? Like how else are you supposed to relate to someone? Talking about the weather, you know, I don't know, I don't think I care.
Oh so, man, that weather question, I get the weather and I'm like, okay, the weather's nice outside, so let's go back here. It's like but I mean, all that small talk stuff, I mean, there's definitely value with it, but it's like, I try to brush all that away. Okay, let's talk about sports, weather, let's get all that away. And then let's go back to this deep stuff.
Yes.
So but it's hard because when you do find that person, especially, I don't know, with people that are really in tune with who they are and what vibes with them and our values and all that FI stuff or whatever. Yeah. It's hard because that other person, especially if they're not a feeling or intuitive type person or whatever, they're going to be shocked with the amount of where in the world is this guy coming from? Or, you know, it's just, so I do got to learn how to dial that back. But
or find people who are like-minded, so you don't feel like you have to bring yourself backwards in order to just because I mean, okay, there are situations that maybe you can't do anything about. If you are in a work situation, yeah, sure, you have to learn to dial it back because you know it's appropriate. You have to deal with different type of people, but I'm talking about on a personal level. You can choose. On a personal level, I feel like you can choose. And you probably will have people that if I go to a group that's like craft group or something, I don't know, like I'm very much into like doing different things. And if I go to that group and everybody's more like they don't go deep into stuff, I tend to just go like, you know, I'll be the one that goes deep. And it usually would open up a room for everybody else to feel permission to do the same. I feel like everybody wants to connect to that level, but they don't feel like it's appropriate, or is it time yet? Do I know people enough? And when they see someone do that, they go like, oh, maybe it's okay. I can do the same. And sometimes people feel permission. Sometimes people just go like, whoa, and they just hold back. And that also is okay, you know? But I don't usually find I can connect to people well enough if I don't allow myself to just be me. And that can change from group to group to group. So obviously, yes, you have to have the emotional intelligence to know how to adapt to different people. That's also my area of like real interest. But definitely try to be yourself as much as possible. Be with people who think like you, who are more of that conscious level of, you know, getting to a place where you can recognize where you are, where you want to work towards, and they can support you in that because you're there to support them. They're there to support you. But if, like you're talking about, you're very much aware of the places you are and how you're working towards different things, and if you're with people who are doing the same, they don't feel challenged. I feel like people who are not working on those things, they'll almost feel like people who are doing that are making them feel uncomfortable. And then they'll be trying to push those kind of conversations away because it's not something they're ready to face about themselves. And so
that's one of my challenges too, because even though I'm at my state in my life, doesn't mean everyone else is. So, I mean, if you look at analytics, the biggest base is like, 20 to 30-year-olds or whatever it is. So I know there's a lot of younger viewers that watch YouTube, just how it works, but that's my thing. It's like, just because I'm all excited and doing this vulnerable stuff, putting myself out in YouTube, social media world, I try to encourage people. I mean, sometimes I get too bold with it where I'm like, hey, you guys got to do this because it's going to make your life way better, just because I've already experienced it. But when I was younger, I was the same way, to where I'm just like, no, you don't have no idea what you're talking about. I'm never doing that. So it's like, so that's what I mean, for me to just snap myself back and be like, hold on, you were some little young lost INFP as well. And you weren't listening to older people. And that's all it is. It's just like, you've experienced things through your life of, doing all the patterns of wherever your past you've taken you. But that's the thing with us. We got to explore all that stuff. Someone can't really, it's hard for someone to tell us that, hey, go down this path. It'll make you better. Right. Even though you might be a similar personality type and things like that, it's very hard for us to like believe it, because it's like, no, that's your path. I'm going down here because I'm authentic to who I am, and we're all different. So, but yes, that's one of my struggles with my videos. I get all excited and pushy. I'm like, oh yeah, do this. I don't force it, but at the same time, like, hold on, you got to kind of tread a little bit more cautiously. So instead of scaring people, like you said, it's not saying I don't, and just having that conversation where I do let my vulnerability out of just, it might make someone uncomfortable because they're like, and then I'm desubscribing from that guy because he made me feel uncomfortable. But
and that's okay too. That's okay too, because we all having different journeys at different times. I mean, there are times when I would hear people talk about stuff and I thought, that's a little woo-woo, that's a little woo-woo stuff. And and now maybe I'm sounding a little woo-woo myself, but that's okay too. So I think maybe you're right. I think it maybe comes with age, maybe comes with exposure to different things. It depends maybe what areas of our lives maybe we've gone through. Like, I know my biggest growth of late has my biggest transformation personally has been through a broken relationship that allowed me to really go deep and dig down to understand, like, how did I get myself in this situation? This was the worst thing I could have done to myself. Why did I even do this? How did I get here? And that opened up to like a whole world of like different discovery. And I think we get there different ways. Some people have that really early on and therefore have an opportunity to look at so much of the stuff maybe that they hadn't looked at before, and they do that early on in their life. Like that's amazing, because you could be more aware and conscious of where you at, your patterns, how you're working in your 20s. Can you imagine that? Like that will just blow up your life for the rest of your life to be really amazing. But for the most of us, 20s, I had no clue. 30s, maybe I started paying attention, you know. Now I'm nearly, well, yes, it's 2020. I'm turning 40. So
This year
it's
you
like I've
are?
been waiting to turn 40 for forever. Huh?
I'm getting excited. Yeah, no, I turn 40 next February, so I got like a year left.
Oh,
No,
yes.
I'm almost there too, but like I'm pretty excited about the 40s. Like a lot
Oh,
of people
yeah.
look, oh, but like me, I'm just like, dude, my self-awareness and where I'm at, like I
Yes.
think the next decade for me personally
Yes.
is gonna be like, I'm super
It's
excited about
awesome.
it. So I mean, not to
40s are
say that
going to be
we can't do it in the 39 right now. It doesn't mean we
awesome.
can't do it now, but it's
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just stall. Well, at 40,
Yes.
then I'm gonna start doing stuff. No, you can do it any
Yes.
day, but I just
Right.
think just how it's all transpiring and stuff, it's gonna be pretty sweet.
Yeah, I think I always used to say, when I turn 40, I can say, I'm 40 years old, like I've been here for a minute.
Well,
I
that's
can
my thing with me, like in my industry with a bunch of, just rough alpha males and all this crazy stuff. And there's a lot of like
Yeah,
just the older, like
yeah,
mechanical people that just, when they
yeah,
see me, I look like I'm 12.
yes,
I have a young look to where a lot of people
yes,
think I'm like low 30s or even in my
right.
20s,
Yeah,
I get tagged for.
yeah, yeah,
So initially for me, when I walk into places that, new places every week, I walk into, those people will judge me because it's like I'm someone who's supposed to come in and be an expert and train and this and that. But they're like,
right, yeah.
who's this little punk kid? He just got out of college. He's like,
He's
so,
like 12.
and people do that though, and they'll actually ask me the question. You can see them all kind of hesitant and like you can see their little demeanor, and I'm just like, all right, I'll play this little game.
Yeah,
So over time, through like halfway through the day, they'll ask me, they'll, how old are you? Like they asked me
yeah,
that question. So
right.
now it's going to be nice to just have that 40 staple where I can be like, yeah, I'm 40. And they're, oh,
Yeah,
and immediately when I do say my age, there's a more of a respect thing.
yeah, yeah,
Because it's all I can earn respect from my work ethic and just,
yes,
them seeing it over time, but walking through
yeah,
that door, those
yeah,
people that just really have no interest other than how you look, and they're going to judge
yes,
you by the book, by the cover thing.
yes,
Um, I deal with that a lot. And so for me, just to be able to say 40 is going to
yeah,
be that, it's like $9.99 or whatever. It's
yes.
really $10, but like just being able to say 40 makes it feel like it's
Yeah.
a whole nother like 5 years later.
It's true. And I think it's people's appreciation of you don't you haven't lived enough yet. I mean, and it's different because I think different people experience different things. But I think that the usual understanding is in your 20s, you haven't experienced enough things yet. You haven't
Yeah.
tried enough. You haven't failed enough yet. You haven't gone through enough stuff yet to be at a level where you can really have empathy and compassion on just humanity as a whole. I think
But
we
like you
tend
said,
to,
like if you go earlier, if you had like some kind of
yes,
traumatic incidents, if you're like
yes,
under 10 years old or going through your
yes,
teenage years, if
yes,
there's something that you really dealt with that you had to, that's typically
yes,
probably more of a traumatic ordeal, whether it's,
yes,
divorce or some kind of abusive
yes, right,
situation,
yeah,
that's going to force you to
yes,
really internally reflect. So then if you do get to
yes,
your 20s,
yes,
you are maybe 5-10 years further than a typical 20-year-old that didn't
yes,
have to do that process.
correct.
So, and yeah, okay. Sorry to
I think
interrupt. Go ahead.
no, 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 no. That's absolutely that's true because I think that can make a difference. That can definitely make a difference because then you've had that life experience. It shapes things differently for most people. And I'm not saying that every person who has gone through a traumatic experience can come out can successfully go through a transformation because some people it's like I wish it just never happened and
Yeah.
therefore just push it to one side and that also is okay. We all can develop in our consciousness in a different time and maybe that wasn't the right time for that person. But I think when we can get to a place where we can say, that happened for me and it didn't happen to me, that's a very empowering place to be, because then
and I appreciate, like, I've been through some traumatic, crazy stuff, but like, I actually look back and appreciate that stuff. Like you with your breakup or your, your relationship thing, like, yeah, they're hard. And you're like, what in the world? Why is this happening to me in a world like this and that? But like, you process so much. So like, even though those times are hard, and there's times I do not want to go back to ever, like in my younger years, my teenage years, I would never want to relive that again for anybody.
Yeah.
But like, I do appreciate it. Like anytime that I go through, I know it's hard, but at the same time, while I'm going through that thing, nowadays and things like that, I'm like, this is really not fun. But like, I know that I'm going to gain something to use, because I'm just like, that's how not to get into that again, or how not, what, how do I feel about this and that. And then those negative experiences for me are something I see as it's just the best way to develop yourself quicker. Not saying you want to go you don't want to go volunteer for bad experiences, but when we have them, I really, really appreciate them. I have appreciation more than someone who's going to have that victim mentality. And just, and it's not to say that I'm not going to be like, well, it's not fair. I'm not going to have those moments. I'm going to have those moments at times. Yeah. But I'm also not going to just sit there and for a week simmer on it and be like, this is not fair. Everyone else gets this. And it's not fair. It's not fair. And then you're not doing anything. You're just complaining.
Yeah. Because I think those times definitely someone is feeling disempowered and they just don't feel like they can change that situation. And they get stuck in this, it's not fair kind of thing. And I think it really depends on growth. So for me, for example, I never really, and I've had so many different things. I've tried so many different things in my life. And when it comes to career success, I always felt wealthy when it comes to things like that. Like I could embrace anything. I can take it. It falls, I can get up. This didn't work out, I can find a way. Those have never been like my struggling areas. But I think my struggling areas were relationships. Just relationships were like my nemesis. Like I just knew, and almost like you go in afraid already. Like I bet I'm gonna fail. I bet I'm gonna fail.
I'm not good at them still. I've never been married myself, so I'm not good at them. But anyway.
No, yeah. So well, I got married. The relationship I was talking about was a marriage, which ended, and which I chose to end because it wasn't a healthy situation for me to be in. But I think I always felt that was one area that I was not good at. And it all dials down to your story. It all dials down to how your upbringing was, or maybe something that had happened in later years. It depends. Everybody has their own thing. But for me, I almost replicated the same situation that I saw with my parents, just wanting to have a different ending. So you tend to be drawn to the similar relationships to how your parents kind of dealt with things. And even though my parents are still married, their relationship was like something I didn't like. My parents' relationship to us kids was like fantastic. Relationship to themselves, I put a question mark whether it was something I would have wanted for myself. So it almost like I wanted a different outcome for me relationship wise. So I was very cared for in every sense, except I think the thing that I always felt like I lacked support for was the emotional area. I always felt like there was a judgment. I don't know if somebody said something or I just picked up on. There was a judgment that I was super emotional and I was higher maintenance when it comes to emotional, and that there was a shame about that, right? So you grow up with this idea that if people really saw how emotional I can get, if people saw how high maintenance I am when it comes to supporting my emotions, I bet they're not going to accept me. Or I didn't feel like I could be accepted as that. So I always had this thing or fear that relationships are just not going to be my thing. Because if I have to be myself, I'm not sure that someone could support it. And if I had to fake it, how long can I fake it for?
Yeah, and the more we do fake, definitely our feeling department and all that, we're going to stress ourselves out, and it's not healthy for anybody. And that's the whole thing. But it's like, I had another point. Go ahead.
Did I take you away from what you were thinking?
No, I keep trying to come in. I segue in, and then I have like a real point, and then. Uh,
Like,
fu-
I,
oh, but because my mom and dad were divorced before I was even born, and I found the first time I ever met him and talked to him or whatever was when I was like 27. So
wow,
I didn't grow up with kind of a mom dad type family, but
right.
it's just so it's not saying that I'm not. I'm there with my kid. I have my kid in the room playing a video game right now.
Oh, she,
Back there. But like, I mean, I'm one that I'm completely, I would never do the same thing, in that sense. My
yes,
kid is my world, it's my best
yeah,
buddy. So,
yeah,
but no, it's just like, I don't know if it's just a product of not growing up in a mom and dad type structure to where I'm that way. I don't
yeah,
think it's that, because I still
yeah,
feel that someone's out there to get me, and more of the, person that understands the feelings and stuff. And I think
yeah,
for me, being a guy and being a super emotional guy, that's even more scary. I mean,
yeah,
yes, I mean, you're going to have your stuff because based on society of the world,
yeah,
emotions are somewhat not appreciated, I guess, as much as they should be, because it's just a natural thing.
yeah,
But as a guy, like
yeah,
it's harder for me, because it's like if I'm with some girl that's definitely not
yeah,
maybe in tune with their emotions or something like
yeah.
that, and I start pouring out my emotions as a guy, then that's going to scare them off twice as much. So for me, that's definitely a fear. Is like, but I want to. I have to vent my feelings out. Like that's my thing.
Yes,
If I don't and I
yes,
pent that stuff up, I know that
yes,
I'm going to stress myself out. I'm not going to be a good person, and
yes.
it's gonna completely take down the whole relationship.
You're gonna
Um,
blow up some point. You're gonna blow up
yeah,
at some point because you're gonna just bottle it in. And I think the point you touched on, emotions. I remember when I was getting into occupational psychology, my area of interest was emotions. And I remember talking to my professors at the time, like my thesis and everything else. And when I was like interning and going to the world of psychology, I wanted to focus on emotions at work. And I remember everybody like saying, Rebecca, this is not even like a thing. Like nobody cares. People want to know about performance, outcome, what can you, bottom line. This is the things that, but this was like, okay, maybe what is it now? 12 years ago now? But look at it now. Look at how much now people are realizing, even in the world of work, how much your emotions, you can't just lock your emotions out the office because you're coming into work. It doesn't work that way. And at the time, I was so discouraged off of it. And there's so many things I should have stuck at because I think being an INFP, having the intuition that we have, I think we can almost be, how do you call them, like a seer, if I can talk from like a mystical place. You can almost see things coming that other
yeah.
people can't. And I always felt there was so many times in my life where I was way too far steps ahead, and I would come in with an idea and everybody would just shoot me down.
Because
And
they
then
can't see it. Yeah, it's
they can't
very
see it.
hard, because you're like,
Yeah.
we don't have factual evidence of.
No.
It's just like, no, I'm telling you, like, it's right there. Like,
Yes.
well, show us. I
Yes.
can't.
I
So they're
can't
gonna
show you.
devalue, but
And
it's yeah,
and when you're young, you doubt you. You doubt like maybe it's me. Maybe I'm
yeah,
off of it. So I remember that time I didn't really continue to focus on it, and I'm like, shoot, I could have, kind of specialized more in that area. And even though I specialize in person, but I mean in application, I could have pushed it more. When I go to work in the organization, I could have pushed that area, but I didn't because I realized nobody was wanting it at the time. But they needed it. They just didn't know they needed it, and I
yeah.
could have pushed it. And I remember the whole thing for me actually started when I was 22, like this entrepreneurial thing. I wanted to invent a product, and I had an idea for because I used to go clubbing quite a lot. Being an introvert, that would be like weird, right? But I used to
No,
go
I did
clubbing
it
a
in the
lot.
military when I was in England. I was at the techno clubs.
There you go.
I was grabbing glow sticks and stuff. Like,
There you go.
but like when I was a young INFP, I drank a lot. I mean, that's what we did. We
Yes,
went to England, we partied. I
yes,
was drinking legally
yes,
since 19. So
yes,
like when I went over there, I mean, I didn't
yeah,
really party. I didn't go to parties in high school. I didn't do any of
yes,
that stuff. I didn't go to
yeah,
I didn't go to parties in high school. So
yeah,
military was kind of my late blooming party life, to where when I
yeah,
found that when I got drunk, I turned
yes,
into some crazy extrovert who didn't care
yes,
about being on the dance floor by himself
yes,
before everything kind of started. I mean, I do that all the time. Run out there,
yes,
watch this. I
yes,
would never do that sober. Like,
yes.
so it
So
was
yeah,
definitely the liquid courage.
yes.
Um, but yeah,
And I think he almost I remember vividly not even drinking enough to be drunk, but drinking enough for people to think I'm drunk so I can act crazy without judgment. Do you know what I mean? Because I remember I didn't really like the drink. But I liked the idea of letting go. But I felt the permission when you're out and about and everybody thinks everybody's drunk, so everybody's acting out crazy. That was permission for myself to let go without feeling like somebody's going to judge me in some way. But for me, that was the scene that I was going at the time. But I used to be like super concerned that, someone could spike my drink. I'm going out and I'm drinking this people. I don't know everybody else here. And if I go to the restroom and I come back, someone could spike my drink. And I wanted to invent something to detect drugs at the time, and I came up with an idea, and I approached like companies that I thought we could kind of work together to implement something. But anyway, long story short, I gave up on the idea because the big guys told me, you don't even have science behind it, and shut me down and everything else. And then the other day, actually, that's just this year, a friend of mine sends me this article and goes like, look at this. And it was these 3 girls that were given a patent for an idea exactly almost like mine 3 years ago, 2017. And I was like, dang, they were young, they had no science behind it. But this was like 15 years later that this idea was accepted. But back then, everybody was like, what? No, you need to have it this way and you need to have it the other way. So I think it's just like what we're talking about before. The life experiences gives you confidence, because now I have these lessons or experiences that were like pushbacks that makes me realize now if I come up with an idea that everybody shoots me down on, I can go like, no, I'm just going to keep working at this, right? But you don't have a reference point when you're young. You therefore just go like, maybe this isn't. And I feel like that's a lot of INFPs get stuck, therefore they don't start something or they don't stay with something. They just have that fear like, maybe it's not.
Well, because you have no support network, because it's a vision of something that you came up with through how your mind just popped off the patterns.
Right.
Like, and it just, again, like you might not understand like my vision. Like I see something, I tell you, you'll be more probably open-minded in general about it, but and not judge me harshly about it. But you still might not see it.
No.
So, but like when we're faced with, those scientists and things like that, that's what it is. We just don't, it doesn't mean that whatever we see can't come to light or can't come to, real whatever, but like, that's the problem. We don't have a support network, and it's just, and that's the thing with, you find in where you do need to dissociate yourself from people. Like I definitely surround myself with a very small network of people, and there's a lot of people I've had to let go.
Yes.
Because I can't, there's ones that just talk in your ear like, no, that'll never work. The victim mentality type people. And I don't have time for that, because I need to keep going down my path. And if you surround yourself with, the 5 people you surround yourself the most is who you kind of become, or whatever that quote. But no, I believe in that. And it's just when you start letting people go and just really fine tuning the people around you, then you have that support network, which might only take 1 or 2 people. You don't need a room full of scientists to be your friends. You just need 1 or 2 people to be like, hey, your vision, who knows? Go ahead, put it out there.
Exactly. And I grew up in a family, that very much allowed that space for me. So I was very fortunate in that I wasn't shut down, I wasn't discouraged or anything.
Oh, that's awesome.
And therefore, I feel like because of that, and just because of my own interest in my own work, thank God I'm able to be that space for my kids. So my son is like super inventive. He's almost 15, and he will try out 101 thing, and sometimes I'll get frustrated with him. Like, are you going to stick to one thing? And then I'm like realizing, stop that, let him explore, and he's trying to figure stuff out for himself, very much into like robotics and just, coding and stuff like that. And so, it's not a word I fully understand, but it's a word I fully support. So he might come up with an idea and tell me, I'm trying to code this thing, I'm doing this robotic thing, and I'm bringing these people in to trying to do this with me. And I'm like, I have no idea what that means, but I fully understand and appreciate the passion that he has. So for that, I have space for, and I can say, yeah, fantastic, let's keep going. What do you need me to support you with? What, like, oh, I need another website. I need to develop this. Great. Okay, I'll help you get that. Things like that I can definitely have room for, even though technically I don't understand the whole thing that he's doing. I wouldn't know that a line of code, the end from the beginning if I saw one. Most of the time when I can't work out something, I need him to kind of help me with that. So I think
that's
it's
the
just
thing. You're not jumping in there and just taking down his passion, and that's what I
yeah,
think a lot of parents will do that, because it's like you watch all the movies all the time and you
yeah,
just see all this. You have to go to this college. You have to go here, and you
right,
see those kids kicking and screaming, and that's how I
yeah,
parent as well. I'm
yeah,
more of like, if you want to make some slime. My kid's 10, but like if
yes,
she wants to do whatever, she'll come and
yeah,
show me this and that. But I'm like, hey, I don't know. Go figure it out. Go put that in there. See if it does whatever. But like
right,
I don't push her out of the way and be like,
yeah,
hey, let me do that. Let me show you
yeah,
how to do it right. Like I don't
yes,
like
yeah,
that to me is completely a bad way to go about things, especially when they're trying to develop themselves.
yes.
So yeah,
And
and
and I think
that's the same way I parent.
and I think it's harder when it's the area that you know. I think that's the place I have to keep checking myself, right? So because maybe it's easier because he does like things that are way over my head, right? But I always do question, like, if he was doing something that I am myself. Like sometimes I see it if like my daughter is she's 5, and if she wants to color or do something, and you cannot tell her anything, right? She's very feisty. So if I say, let's color together, art is my thing. So I want to teach her technique or something, and she goes like, no, that's not right. It takes a strength for me to go like, yeah, let her be her, like, because I could say, but I can show you, something. And if she goes like, no, I just want to do my own thing, I'm like, okay, okay.
Yep.
But so I'm learning to be more conscious, even in the things that I would think I'm good at, not to pass on my way of doing it. Because I think as parents, we can tend to go like, what's the use of me knowing all these things if I can't pass them on,
Yep.
because you almost feel like you could positively impact them if
But
you do.
going back, them learning that bad experience, like, so they make some
Yes,
kind of whatever gingerbread house. It doesn't
yes,
stand up; it just falls apart. They
yes,
learn that valuable bad experience for
yes,
themselves. So if we take
yes,
that away and be like, build it up here, and the house stands perfectly,
yes,
they didn't
yes,
learn anything. I
they
mean,
didn't.
they learned how to properly set up a gingerbread
Structure.
house.
Yes,
But to me, I look at it as that house that did not stand, it's going to give them a more valuable lesson, because
yes,
next time they're really going to, maybe they'll come ask for advice or do this and that. But it's like,
yes,
they've learned that, okay, I can't do it that way. I need to do it
no,
this way.
yeah.
So I just,
Those definitely, those are lessons. And like what you're mentioning about pushing kids and so forth. I remember growing up, it was very aspirational. Like my dad would say, well, you have to be above me. If I went PhD level, I want you to be a professor, kind of thing. And not to make me do certain things, but like cause me to aspire to something above him. And not in academics and so forth. And I didn't feel the pressure personally. I always felt like I could just choose my own, and I would be supported. But I can fully understand how that can make someone feel like they have to choose a certain path. And so, like, even with my son, because he's so technology minded, I was given an option. You don't want to go to college, you might not have to. I think these days you have to prove what you can do better than a piece of paper.
yeah,
So I always give him options to know there are options out there. There isn't one path. Just because I had to go, do my degree and do my master's and all that, you don't have to do the same. Your path may not require that, and having a knowledge it's not. There's so many things that I feel I am as good of an expert in that I didn't go to school for. Like creatively, things like art and so forth. I remember my art teacher said to me, you will get full scholarship if you wanted to go to art school. You're very good at it. You'll be good at it. And I just didn't feel at the time that I could pay bills with art. So
yeah,
I thought, what am I gonna do with art? I can't do anything with that. So I didn't. But that is something I'm equally as passionate and always develop, just like the thing I went to school for. So I think just because somebody has a piece of paper to qualify them doesn't mean a person who doesn't have a piece of paper doesn't have as much of a knowledge, if not more, in
yeah,
application than the other person. So I think there's always room for people to navigate their life how they see fit. And I think so long as you have, like what you were talking about before, the support to implement what you want to see come through, then that's the great thing. I think the problem with us INFPs, we can have so many passions and not like buckle down and just do one. for work, you know. So I've seen a lot of like people on my Instagram page and people I've worked with come up and say, but I have this idea and this idea and this idea, and they have like 5 things they're working on at once. And it's like, first of all, we are not good with paying attention to any one thing anyway. And you're trying to attempt to doing a 5. Are you crazy? Just do one. And it's almost like, but I love all of them. I don't want to just do one. I love all of them. And I think that's the challenge for us INFPs to get to a point and just say, I can have all of them at once, but maybe I don't need to pursue all of them for a career. Or maybe I can pursue them at different times, maybe not at the same time, because I've pursued a whole lot of stuff over the years, but and not I know I keep going on it, but also not to the point I was trying to say before I forget, and not to feel like you have to follow one conventional path, a traditional way, because this tripped me up a lot when I was younger, because I felt like I needed to be like everybody else that I noticed that worked at this one. You know, like my mom was a little different because I felt like she changed a lot. So maybe she gave me like permission to, like at age 66, she started a whole different career. Like she would just evolve and do different things. Whereas I would see maybe other family members that if you're an accountant or whatever, you would be in work in that area for the rest of your life. Maybe you will just change organization, but you will stay this one thing over time. And I used to think, I'm not that. Maybe something is wrong with me, but I'm not that. I don't want to just do one thing for the rest of my life. That to me is like death. I want to have the permission to do different things. And I think for INFPs, if we can get to a point where we are okay and think our success in different areas is just as important as somebody else's that's stuck at that one thing and did it over 30 years or something. You know, if you did something for 5 years and realized, yeah, I completed that, I'm good now, I want to move on to
That's
something.
how I am. I'm like a 4 to 5 year job guy.
Yes.
Every time 4 or 5 years hits, like it's always like magic. My last military was like 9 years, but like every job I've had since then, 4 years, 4 years. I'm coming up on 5 years right now. Like it's not, I don't get fired. I literally just have this weird 4-year mark where I'm just like, I snap out of it and I'm just like, I got to move on. And I can't come back from it. Like I just, once I get that thought, and it's always around that time frame, it's weird to me why it's always this 4 or 5 year thing. I don't get it.
So do you change?
I'm just not going to have a 20-year career. I don't ever believe that I'm ever going to have some kind of 20-year retirement type thing, whatever. I'm not that way. I'm just built to where I want to do something. I get bored.
Do you stay within the same industry or do you actually change things completely?
It's all been in the electromechanical industry, but I mean, it's been, so it's been kind of in that, but it's like, you know, the military doing that. And then it's like, I worked on elevators and escalators. And then I was a maintenance manager at the airport, overseeing maintenance stuff. And then now I fix food equipment, install food processing equipment. So it's all electromechanical, but it's all different, you know, food industry, airport.
Applications. Different applications.
So it's not the same. It's not accountant to the next accountant job to where I sit in the same desk and hack away at the same things. It's just, it's all, the underlying thing is electromechanical, but they all have different spins on them. So it's almost like that management job. That was the worst stress I'll ever have in my life for those 4 years. Because I went into it trying to manage like an INFP, like I have strong leadership skills from the military and things. So like I'm very good at that, but I was overly just, you know, being all friendly and, you know, talking things out and spending all these times explaining, you know, well, don't do this, little guy, because, you know, this is why. And then I got taken advantage of so much to where after about a year of the operation falling apart, I had to basically, you know, whatever, ESTJ up. And the next 3 years, it was successful and I didn't get fired or anything, but like I had to really buckle down and just manage people. Here's the rule, follow this rule or you get disciplined. I don't like to do that. So for me, the stress I incurred was massive. But I learned so much in that 4-year period because it's just, that was my shadow stuff, like stuff that I did not do. So I played in that world on a daily basis. So for that, again, I'm grateful, but I will never, ever do any kind of management job like that ever again, ever.
I think you're right, because I think INFPs actually can make amazing leaders. It's just the managing aspect of leadership.
There's a
Managing.
balance. You can't, if you do extreme
Yeah.
leadership or extreme management, it's not
Yes.
going to work. You have to do
No.
both. That's really what it is. But yes,
Yeah.
I think INFPs, the management side, they need to work on. They need to bring that to the center, where naturally we're going to be more leaders, kind of. But there's completely two different things.
I think you can be a leader and a visionary and just have somebody else manage. I think that would be the best.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. If like, to me, I always think, if I ever develop whatever venture I go into to the point that I need to manage people, which is something I really don't like to do, I would happily bring somebody else in who would manage that. And then I would just continue to be the visionary, because I don't believe it's like the best use of my strength. And I would just be stressing myself out trying to do things that are not my strength and don't come natural to me. And know that I'm glad you mentioned the shadow work. Not that I don't believe you should work on those areas that are not your strength. I think there is value to that. But I think living in them all the time is stressful.
That's my problem. The last 20 years kind of thing. I mean, they've been more of not my preferred INFP preference. So that's why nowadays I'm actually working on changing that. Not to get into details, but yes, I'm trying to get more to an INFP preference, where, again, like I said, the last 20 years of my careers, I've not been INFP daily. And that's what I'm saying. The stress, I know, has caused health issues for me and all kinds of bad stuff. And I'm trying to change. So those 20 years are not for nothing. I know that, but the stress I had to endure to really develop all that understanding of my shadow stuff, it's a valuable knowledge, but what extent do you trade that off? Is it really worth it in the end? I mean, so that's how I look at it. But no, I'm right now actively working the last couple of years and working on moving my route more the other way. And I'm getting there. I'm close. But.
And I think that's something we always have to juggle, because for me, even though I do enjoy working one-on-one with people, and I feel like, I can bring so much value in working with people that way, I do find that sometimes there's only so much time in a day. There's only so much I can divide myself between work, home, being a mom, being, and now being a single mom. It's just too much. And I don't want to. And I know people can go, like, they say it's almost like a time management thing. And it's not a time management thing. It's, for me, I see it's time allocation, because there are people who can have their day broken up into hourly, schedule to how they want to maximize their time. I don't want to maximize my time. I want to live in my time. I want to experience every little thing. And for me to do that as an INFP, it means I will just take longer, because I'll reflect on things twice as long. I will be questioning things twice as long. And that's okay for me now. Whereas before, I used to feel like maybe to be effective, maybe I need to adapt a different way of doing things. But I'm not saying don't be organized or have structure, because I actually am. Almost when you come to my house, I'm one of those people that, the can has to face forward and everything is organized neatly, like almost an OCD kind of person when it comes to that. But in my inner world, I like the freedom. I like the freedom in my inner world. And I think if we can get to a place where the things that we think, and I know this is not everybody's INFP either. I don't think every INFP is that kind of anal about different things. And I feel some INFPs are more okay with organizing even the internal world and just be more structured with life, and they enjoy that more. And I think if you enjoy it, maximize on it. Because if it brings you joy that you can live your life happily, do that. I mean, right now, we're going through a tough time where people are home and they're struggling with that. I don't struggle with things like that personally, or being home or working from home. I do that anyway. And nor do I struggle with not having structure for my kids. Thankfully, they don't like structure either. So none of us like structure. We wake up if we want to stay in our pajamas all day and just work through that way. It's fine. Nobody's like trying to be like, we have to be 9 o'clock trying to do something. We'll just take the day as it comes. And I can always just catch things up, and I'm okay with that. But I know for some people that might not be okay, and it brings stress to them. And I can really appreciate that. It's a tough time for a lot of people. But I think so long as we are comfortable with our own version of what success looks like, we're good. For me, success is freedom freedom of my time, freedom of just be creative to what I want to do, freedom to choose a different path. For some people, the idea of I've worked this job 5 years, or I opened this business for 5 years, I'm ready to move on, I can close it down and move on to something else. It's like, no, I have something, I want to work for it for 20 years. And for me, I'm like, I'm not that way inclined. I'm okay to just let things go and just start something else. But that is, I think, on a personal level, right?
And that, I mean, that's the thing for like me, like 20 years, I've always escalated. I've never kind of gone backwards, I guess. So like climbing the corporate ladder, luckily, or whatever you want to say. But I got a degree. I worked at it. So nothing was handed to me. I didn't, whatever. But like over 20 years, I've kind of climbed, and my pay is reflected. My pay is pretty super high right now, but I don't want any of it. Like for what I've endured, like to me, I know that the higher I've gone and the more prestige that people recognize me as and this and that happiness in myself is not there. Like it doesn't equal. So like for me, I know it's not. So I had to learn that. I'm like, okay, everyone's telling me I got to be successful. You have to have more things. You got to have a bigger house. You got to have more money. You got to do this and that. So of doing all that, being a stress buyer and things like that, I have all these materialistic things that have been sitting in my basement for like 10 years. I haven't even touched. But like those things I bought, like brought me short-term happiness. And I know that it's not a long-term thing. So, but like, it's like a little, I buy it to put a little binky in my mouth for a day. And then it gets old and I go buy something else. So it's this repetitive revolving door of, I have all these things. I've had nice cars. I have a big house that, it's like, but I don't want any of it. I want to go live in a shed in the woods and like live like all that minimalistic lifestyle and all that stuff. Like that's where I'm going. So like I'm up here really high kind of thing, but I don't want to. I'm willing to. I'm trying to set all my finances up, and that's what I've been working on. And again, I'm almost there to where I can just be like, you know what, high paying job. I don't need you anymore. I'm going to go work at wherever, you know what I mean? And make half as much as what I make and be twice as happy.
Yes.
And that's really what I've been working on hard over the last couple of years, because it hit me. I'm just like, wait a minute. Why do I keep getting more and more and more, but I'm less happy?
Yes.
So finally seeing that, I'm glad I didn't see that when I was like 60 or something. So that's why I'm excited about my 40s, because I know that this has been a long time coming. And for me to actually not have that pressure of paying off the banks because of my debt and all this stuff, like I can get a lower stress job. My jobs have been high stress because the pay reflects that stress. So if I don't require that, and my debt's all paid down, then I can go work at some easy stress job and actually experience life and not just work.
Yes. And I think that's a really good point that you bring up, because whatever the trade-off, and I always feel like it almost feels like the trade-off means, and materially it depends. If everybody's level of what's comfortable, what's not, is really, depending on each person. If you have a lot of times, if I like nice things and I can't have it, I will make it or something. Like you can adapt your life how you want in order to have the thing that really means something to you. So for me, even though at the time I realized with occupational psychology, if I worked as a consultant in occupational psychology, I remember it because it was just the time I just had my son, and I got this project, and I was in London, and I remember my supervisor saying, "Okay, well, the next phase of this is in German." I was like, I can't just pack up and just go to Germany. I just can't do. I have, for me, a priority is my family, and this is not going to support me. And I realized that moment I had to make a choice, because yes, I had tried so carefully to navigate in which a place where I could be, and I thought in my head, being a consultant, I could choose more of what I wanted. Choose a project that I wanted to. And yes, you can. But once you accept a project, now you're tied in with a project. You still clocking into that project, whatever it requires, you have to show up and do that work, right? And then I realized, I just traded what I thought was the corporate world to do, consultant work, thinking consultant work will be more flexible, but I'm still tied up to whatever project and I'm doing. And I had to make a decision then, and that's what you're talking about. And I had to take a pay cut. And for many years when my son was little, I just worked part-time. So no, we didn't have a lot of money. I worked in the local university, and it meant lifestyle-wise, we had to dial back real low, but it gave me the joy and the happiness that I wanted. I wanted to be more involved in my son's life. I wanted to pick him up and drop him off at school every day, because in England you don't even have buses, which you do that anyway. And be involved in his life. And in England there was this thing where they go to school 6 weeks and then they have a week off. So every 6 weeks, every 7th week, we would have like a week where we would go and do stuff, and I enjoyed that so much. It gave me so much value, and I experienced parenthood in a way that I really wanted to. And I think every person has to make a choice of what that means for them. And for me, I always wanted to be a mom, and I didn't want to miss it. I didn't want to just, trade one for the other. I didn't want to wake up one day and realize I've missed the part that I really was looking forward to be part of. And I was fortunate, and I'm thankful that I had the chance to do that. Do the things that matter to you, and be okay with what that may look like. Because I remember at the time there were people would say, "What, you have a master's degree and you're gonna go work that job?" Like you have to be willing to take that hit, because there is judgment there. People have expectations to what they think you should be doing or being, and if you're okay with taking that hit and say, I have not failed, I've chosen something for me that makes me happy. And if you're okay with that and can make peace with that, you will find your life will become more joyous. And I think for me, that was a starting point to being really conscious about my choices. And if I started something and I realized it's costing me something more than I'm willing to pay, I'm okay with letting it go. I'm okay with saying this doesn't work for me, or this is, like recently I took a side job because I wanted to get more back in the world of art, and I was teaching elementary school art, because I love just going one day a week just to teach art, because they just made me connect to the things. But oh my goodness, being an introvert and having like 90 kids in one day for art was an experience.
It was a little stimulating.
Yeah. It was an experience, and over time I realized, every time I'm coming here, is the job itself is not hard. It's enjoyable. Is the application of just churning it so quick, it caused a lot of stress for me. And I realized, even though I enjoy doing this, I can't do this. It's not working for me, And I realized my health was just getting to a bad place, and I had to say, unfortunately, I'm going to have to let it go. And somebody replaced me, and I see you over here.
Oh, she see. You can wave.
So cute. So I had to let that phase go. And I think so long as we are okay with, it's okay to start something, and it's okay to let it go if it doesn't work for you. I think that's where the power lies for us INFPs, because I think we need to give ourselves permission to not have our life look like everybody else's.
That's where I'm at. Like that's my excitement. Just that exact point is like the point of all this years of listening to people and like, oh, okay, I guess I'll keep doing that. I guess do this. But like, I'm at the point where I have that ability within me to just ignore that, because I know if I tell someone that, and again, I nowadays I try to keep my little ideas to myself, because like when you do put that stuff out there, it's like it gets judged, obviously, and I don't want to hear it. So I find that the more I keep private, even though I get all excited and want to tell everybody, like I found that can deter you, which is not good. And it's like that Pursuit of Happiness movie with Will Smith. That's like one of my favorite parts, is when he's talking to his kid, and if you ever have some kind of dream, you got to protect it. Things like that. And it's like, I love that part. And it's just like that, but there's truth to it, because until you get to that level, as INFPs, we get excited and we want to tell everybody from the mountaintops, because we have found some new shiny passion. But that also can be bad for us, because we don't take criticism well. And then even though we see this grand idea for ourselves, those other people are going to be like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in the world. Why would you do that? And then we're like, oh, and then we go do nothing. We just go sit on the couch and mope, and just like, oh, I guess I'm not going to. But I'm at the point where I just, if I do slip and tell someone and they come at me, I'll listen to it, and then I'll just be like, all right, that's not what I'm about to do. So
yes,
judge me all you want. And if I'm going to lose a friendship over you, then so be it. I don't need to, you know, I don't
yeah,
need that. I need my own
yeah,
thing.
yeah. And I think that's the, and you, as you're talking, I had a really good point. I promise I had a really good point as you're
I
talking.
took it away.
I lost it because I was like, I was trying to listen to you. So therefore I was like, don't be in your head. Just be able to listen to what he's saying. And then I lost it. But I think, no, the point I was going to touch on was the aspect of the fact that when we take that, what people see it as a step back, is not really a step back, because I know, for example,
It's a step back in the world of career success kind of thing.
yes,
Like,
yes,
so yes, it's a form of step back,
yes.
but for us, go ahead. But yeah.
It's a step forward, because with every single change you make, you adapt and you learn and you grow in a different way. And I think for me, I see that as a progress forward for my own personal development. So I never have seen it as a step back. It's opportunity for growth. It's an opportunity to question what my identity is. Am I my things? Am I my status? You know, like, because sometimes I think it can almost hold you back. Like, I am this, and you identify yourself with a role or a level of achievement, and then you don't make a change because you feel like that is so part of you that if you let it go, who will you be? And then you don't take the step that would have really enriched your life. And I think like so much of like the change, because you asked me about my YouTube channel, I'm learning a whole new way of moving and gravitating from maybe working with people one-on-one to working with many. And I'm having to learn a whole new world of what that even looks like, that I don't have to go into an organization to apply my skill set. I don't have to work one-on-one with someone. What other ways can I make an impact in people's lives and still connect with people? And so I'm challenging myself in a very different way. And no, it's not guaranteed as in anything that I've done before, because I don't know what this will look like for me. I'm learning it as I go. And so for me, my YouTube channel is more of evolving with me. So who knows what it will look like 2 weeks from now? You know,
Yeah.
like I could be in a different trail of thought. And that's why I kind of preempt that to say, because I think I actually said it in like my first or second video or something, when I was like, just had my phone and I just thought I'll just talk to the camera and figure this out. And I actually just warn people, who knows what it will be week to week, because it really depends on where I'm at in my growth, because I like to teach from what I am rather than what I know, because I know a lot of things, but I haven't lived a lot of things, right? Because as INFPs, we can collect a world of information. We go through so many trail of thoughts, and neuroscience right now is like my area of interest, and I'm like reading a lot about neurology and how does that connect to emotions in our brain and all these things. But I'm not going to be teaching that because it's not something I actually live out. I don't do it in application. So as much as I enjoy it, it's a passion, and I have so many of these same passions in so many areas, and video making and so much. But in my channel, I doubt it. I'm not gonna say never, but I don't see myself trying to teach people how to edit videos.
Yeah.
It's, even though I learn a lot about it, it's what I know a lot of. As I'm growing with it, it's not something I necessarily want to teach on my channel. So, because for me, I do know that the area of personal development, improvement, transitioning, and transformation is something that has always stayed with me. I always pay attention to that. And regardless of what age I've been, that's always been the constant thing for me. That's never changed. And it always evolves and changes. And I think I can bring more value because I'm always working on it. So therefore, whatever I'm learning and developing towards is something I can bring, and people can grow with me, if you see what I mean. Because I know that's always changing for me.
I'm editing this Johnny Depp video right now just because he's said to be INFP guy. But like I've been diving through all of his content, and just it takes a while to find clips that I relate to and things like that. But I found this one clip where he says that he has like a strong hunger but like lacks ambition. So like but I mean it's something I totally vibe with, because it's like he's like I'm totally into kind of diving into everything that character is and supposed to be. But like he was saying in that part where like Disney was gonna pretty much fire him for the Pirates of the Caribbean because they didn't understand what he was doing. So it's like he's willing to kind of go through all those emotions or, you know, process thoughts and stuff like that. And that's what I like to do. I like to think all kinds of stuff and whatever, but I quickly get bored and I'll move on. So the thing with YouTube, that's what's completely weird to me because my jobs are like 4 years or whatever, but my hobbies are not. They're usually 2 or 3 months to where I'm just like, I'm bored now. But YouTube, I've literally been on here over a year, and that's not normal for me. Like it's not, and that's what. So for me, I'm just like, it's not to say I'm going to be a YouTube for the rest of my life. And like you said, it could end at any time. Like next month, I could just be like, you know what, I'm done. So I don't see that now. It's not in my head. It's nowhere near my head, but it's just, I'm still fascinated by why are you still doing this one thing? In videos, you can always do new stuff. And that's my thing. It's like, I can always do new, it's the same video, whatever process, but like you could always do something new. And that's why I think for me, it does enable that. It's not really the same kind of world.
Thing.
That's why it's so intriguing for me.
Yeah, the topics can change week by week, and it can really depends on where you're at as well, and the areas that you're interested in that you can research more and move with that. And I think that is the interest for me. And I think perfectionism is my problem. So
mine's massively, it's horrible.
That is very much still my nemesis. I think there are so many things I am working towards and very much being aware of. I think that still is in some areas a blind spot. So like, I don't catch myself like thinking you're being like, there's so many other areas I can catch myself like, oh, you know, Director, right now you are numbing, you know, because I can find myself scrolling on Instagram 20 minutes later. I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing? I'm numbing something. I'm not facing, like, I can catch myself in those things and I can call it out. But the perfectionism part, I'm still not always like, it will be like a day later. And then I'm realizing, what is the big deal? Like, what is it? Why must this be a certain way? So it takes me a really long time to catch myself realizing I'm in that perfectionist streak and I need to just stop it. But every week I tell myself, if I can tweak one thing and be okay with that, that's okay. I think just giving myself permission to say, it's okay. It doesn't define you. A video, bad audio on your video does not define who you are. It's okay.
But I mean, I'll learn from that. So it's like, if this whole video is bad because I did something weird with my setup, I can hear you and it looks like it's recording. But again, this last 2 hours of us talking.
Oh, really? It's been 2 hours?
Yeah, it's been 2 hours.
Are you kidding?
This is what always happens. No, that's what I'm saying. It's 12:50.
Usually I'm a person that likes the change, but I know, knowing myself, being the INFP that I am, if I start experimenting with B-rolls and go, like, literally that would take over my world.
And that's what I am. It's massive. It's like, it's never endless. And for me, I get so overwhelmed because I'm doing all that stuff kind of thing. I'm doing extra stuff. But when it pops, I'm like, man, that idea is not something you should do right now because you have no time. Oh, well, let's just do it anyway. And then I'm like, I'm about to burn down, like week to week. I'm like, I'm about to burn down. But it's like, but I keep playing that. I keep biting it. I'm like, ooh, that sounds fun.
That's like a nightmare. Exactly. There's so many times I've thought about, like, I've researched like areas that I want to go and just video over there, you know, because I like architecture and I like nature. Like, so many places I already have like nailed down to places I want to go and just video because I think the backdrop will be like really amazing and just share that moment with people. Because I think for me, it's always like, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I went to the world of like designing weddings because I just wanted to transform. I always feel like the environment you can walk in can really change your emotion level, right? Something you can walk into something, it can transform how you feel, right? So for me, I'm a big person when it comes to creating an environment that makes people feel a certain way. And I think people do that well with videos, like the way you change transitions, the music you put on, the colors you put in can make people feel a certain way. And so I always have these ideas of like creating that emotional experience for people that I think I want to achieve that, right? But then I'm reminding myself, Derek, are you a video specialist? Are you an occupational? Like choose one. Don't try to be 100 things at once. And so I dial it back because if I open that door, I'm very aware of how deep I could go, and it would take away from the thing that I really want to achieve right now, which is to get the content out there and to help people that I'm trying to help. And so I know it's very restrictive for me. And no, I don't like to sit and do like the head talking kind of videos, because I like to do all the fun experimental stuff. But then I'm like, no, master one thing, get this right. And if you develop to a place you can do that effortlessly, I can't even say that word, effortlessly.
Effortlessly.
Yes. Then do that then. I think so long as we are growing, I think as INFP, so long as we are growing, we feel a sense of achievement, and like we are we like to experiment, and we like to venture into things. And I think that is so necessary for us. I don't see, even if I do a talking head video, I think I'll probably be more experimental with the topics I'm doing. So I would research more areas that I hadn't thought about maybe, or do things that I hadn't thought about, because I think there has to be an element where I'm challenging myself each week, taking myself to a different place. It might not be with the production side, maybe it will be in my research side of things that I'm like, oh, that's an interesting topic. Maybe I need to kind of tap into that. Or like what you were sharing about your working through your shadow self, that you've worked on it because it was forced upon you through work, that you just had to learn how to work.
I didn't have to, I just wouldn't have a job. That's all. So, I mean, that's the whole thing. So in that sense, yes, I had to, and I did it. But again, the worst 4 stress years of my whole entire life that will ever be. I won't have that kind of stress again in my life.
So I think you have to know yourself to what works for you.
And that's what I mean. I am that home. That's what I want to get to the home. So that's where I'm trying to change that shift, because it's like, it looks like, oh, that must be cool. It's nice. But like, like I said, there's benefits, but like, I want to be that homebody. I love being in the home. And people were like, well, I haven't seen you in a month. Like I could be in my house and not leave the house one time. Like, I mean, I do get antsy at times, but like, I'm not in my house as much as I should be for my own self, my own health. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's what I mean. When I go to these jobs week to week in Idaho or whatever, like I'll go there. The first couple of days is hard for me, because I got to unwind and learn about everything and learn the people I got to meet and all the new people. I got to learn my surroundings. So there's a lot of information I got to take in the first day or two. Cause I gotta really, it takes me a couple of days to kind of just set in with these people and understand who I'm talking to. And okay, this person's this kind of personality. Let me talk to them like this. Let me talk to this guy like this. So there's a lot I got to do very fast and efficient, where the rest of my week I can kind of relax and really be impactful with what my job entails. But then again, next week I got to do it all over again. And
somewhere else.
So for me, I exercise my, like understanding the people thing. And just really know who I'm talking to, because I mold myself to each person. I don't go into, okay, I'm going to talk to you like an INFP. But I got so many different levels of the operators, all the way up the chain in each plant to the high. So I got so many levels of people I have to interact with. That it's just, I have to quickly chameleonize and, put myself on their level to where, okay, I got to talk to this guy because he likes this way and I'm going to do this. So, I mean, and I got a lot of, and me doing that does get me a lot of great customer relationships where they always request me back and things like that. But there's a lot of work behind that, because it's like I'm putting in massive effort to where more standard technician who's more not into that personality crazy stuff, because most of my world is it's mostly sensors where they just go in, they fix this machine. Okay, the machine's broke, here's the fix, I'm leaving. And they don't care about the people side of things, which is fine. We need technicians to fix machines so we can eat. We don't need a technician to be like, so tell me about your life. Well, the hot dogs are not coming off the line. You know what I mean? So it's like, so I do have to kind of put my somewhat aside and do my job and fix things and get I only have a week, so at times, to get something done. I got to install this. I got to train them how to use it. I got to make the product. I got 1 week to do that, or whatever it might be. And I don't have, my company's not going to wait for me, because next week they have something else planned. Oh, you got to go here. You better be done with that. And I don't have time to really fluff around.
Do you kind of implement something new for them? Like, do you adapt like a different way of working?
Yeah, 100%. Like a lot of times, like some plants don't have some plants might be a brand new plant with no equipment. So, and that's the one I just dealt with. It's completely new equipment, new people that just got hired, never been in a food plant before in their life. So, but majority of it is like, say, taking out an old piece of equipment. Like, so they were making, say, English muffins or whatever, but it was with like a different manufacturer's equipment. So it's not the exact same equipment that we sell. We can make the same product, but we just have completely new equipment. So these operators might be used to, 10, 15 years of running this one machine. And now we come in and sell them this new option, and I have to come in, install it, place it all and make sure it's all fit, make sure it runs, operates how it should. And then the operators come in, you got to train them how to use it. You got to make the product, because it doesn't, just because you have an English muffin line, you don't hit like some green button that says English muffins and then you make an English muffin. You have to dial in settings. It's always different. So there's a lot of challenges just to make their product. And then you also got to train all the shifts. It's a lot. But again, it's got me to really be efficient with my just new surroundings and being able to adapt and being able to be put in these situations. So it's very good for me as personal development, but it's not something that anyone can sustain. I don't think.
That's the part you mentioned about working with people is actually there is aspect or machinery and like automation and adapting people to machines is actually part of occupational psychology. So the part you mentioned about working with people is actually really imperative, because if people can't interact well with technology or machinery, then no, you don't get the best results from the equipment. So it's kind of pointless to have shiny equipment that people can't get the most out of, or the speed is wrong because it's too fast or too slow and too many mistakes are made because of it, right? Or where people are placed to do different things that could be automated better or something like that. Things like that you can only see when you're working with people, because you realize, dang, they're repeating the same process. Why isn't that process like automated somehow? Because that would help with efficiency and things like that. So I'm pretty sure you're doing that job already, which you probably have to interact with people. So I think that probably is fulfilling for you.
Yeah, I have big training, and it's like a lot of it's some small, but sometimes you'll be there in the morning, they'll bring like 50 people around the corner like 7 a.m. and you heard there was going to be some training, but like there was this one job, I don't know, it was about 6 months ago. It was like making English muffins at that place, but they brought out 50 people, like all 3 shifts. They brought them all on. They had tripods. They said, "Can we film you? Is it okay if we film you?" So I'm sitting there in front of a camera. Everyone circled me, the whole entire group, and I'm by myself in the middle of the group. Everyone's looking at me, and they start setting up tripods. There's like 4 people filming me, and I'm just like so uncomfortable. But like, it's just, I mean, I get out of it with jokes and stuff like that, but like I do kind of find who to latch onto and things like that. But like when I'm in those big training groups, like I can do it. I'm not a good public speaker, but when it comes to groups like that, I'm passionate about my job, like the training aspect of it. So when it comes to, I can help these people, like all my fears of, it's not like I'm standing on stage talking about whatever, like some kind of, this is something that I'm passionate because I'm like, I'm going to train all you guys. So then I blur out and I don't care about my INFP social anxiety and all this stuff. So I'm able to do it. But while I'm doing that, I'm methodically going through the whole group and finding my allies to where, okay, this person's going to help me out and be a trainer type thing. This person's going to do this. And so I am constantly analyzing the room and seeing who I can go afterwards individually interact with. And like kind of, okay, you're going to help me. This guy's going to, because I need it, because I'm going to be gone. Like, so I need to be very quick with my people boxing in a sense. And that's where I feel I'm pretty good. I don't know everything about it, but like I feel that all the studying helps me at my current job, because I'm able to get down on those levels where a lot of techs don't. They'll just talk to an operator because they just push 2 buttons a day. They look at him like an idiot or something like that. Well, you can't, you got to do this. You have to do this. Well, you got to
That's a key person.
Yeah, but it is. But like, there's a lot of techs that don't have that personality skill, where they're just like, they look down on people because of their age or whatever their job function is. And they don't talk to them like a person and how they want to be talked to. And I'm just like, that's how you're going to get the most efficiency. If you start talking to those people like that, then your job's going to be worse, because they're going to be like, I don't get it. And you're going to be here constantly. So that's I work hard more on the people thing than the actual machines. And that's what makes me a successful person within my peers. Because it's like a lot of techs will go in there. If there's a broke machine in there, they're going to fix. they bypass all the key people, like, you know, all that stuff. Like, where's the machine at? I'm going to go fix it. So they go in there, boom, 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 they fix it, and then they leave. But what they failed, basically, because that person, like, he didn't even come talk to me. What's going on? And that's what a lot of them don't understand. It's like, if I go work on those key people first, check in with them, talk to them and this and that, my life becomes way easier because they're like, they offer help and all this stuff. And I know that. So I do it.
And also, like, you touched on a key point, because they're the specialist at that problem. They work that same problem. They work that job or that position day in, day out. If something is going wrong, they're the people, because the management, they don't know what goes on down there. They won't know like the ins and out. They're the people that can tell you, well, you know what the problem is, and they can see the problem more clearly. And I think this is the thing that, just as an occupational psychology, when I used to go into organizations, is to educate leadership to understand, if you don't really pay attention to people in this level, you are going to keep having the same repeated problems, because they know they're your specialist in that area, because they do the job you don't. You manage people, you don't really do the job at the front end. And if you don't make the change there and you don't give them the ability to own the change, they feel like you're putting the change on them. Long term, they're not going to own the change as much as if they suggested something, you implemented it. They will feel like you listened and you gave us the solution that we were looking for. They will apply themselves so much better. They will own that change. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can, but it's like the quality just completely dropped. So I didn't know if it was my earphones or what, but.
Oh, because I haven't done anything.
No, you didn't do anything. I tried to put the other one in. It still got the same. I don't know if it's my wife. It might be a Wi-Fi thing too. Yeah, I don't know if this last part's even it's probably gonna be all messed up. So I mean, we've been talking for like over 2.5 hours now. So
I think most of will probably have good content in the beginning anyway, so why not?
Yeah, no, I'll scrub through it all and do it all. But yeah, we can probably break free, and we can always do it again some other time. So
yes, exactly. Yeah, absolutely, no problem.
Well, all right, Miss Linda, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'm excited for you and what the future holds for you.
Oh, it's acting weird now. Now it sounds like a robot.
Oh, really?
No, I appreciate the robot appreciating, what the future holds speech. So, Okay. So you have a good day.
Okay, you too. Have a good one.
All right. See you.
Bye-bye.